Hey, this is Thunder in the spirit of Crazy Horse. Will it be an EMP? Will it be an EMP? I'm kind of feeling that, regarding matters of the world again. Here I am on this. I lowered my frequency today so I could talk about the bullshit. I think that there's going to be an EMP attack. I'm going to go out on a limb here because I've been getting feelings and having dreams and kind of visions about energy. And then I started thinking about what better way would there be for Russia to disable us, disable America. What better way would there be than an EMP? Now, they've been using another reason, you just have to use logic too with this, because they have devices and jamming devices that are state of the art and way far advanced of what people think or what the US thinks. Now, I don't know how many people know this, but they already used an EMP device on the Donald Cook destroyer that was making maneuvers in the Black Sea over there near Crimea and right on the edge of the border of Russia. An Su, I think it was 34 fighter flew over the Donald Cook. This happened quite a while ago. It happened, maybe a year ago or back whenever the Crimea thing was happening. And they flew over the Donald Cook and put out a pulse, boom, an energy pulse or an anti-energy pulse or whatever you want to call it, from a little component or a little weapon, electronic weapon, in the nose of the aircraft. The aircraft didn't even have bombs, didn't need them. So it flew over the Donald Cook and it rendered it incapable of even moving. It shut down all electronics, including the electronics that run the cruiser. And it scared the shit out of everybody on the boat, all the sailors. In fact, a bunch of sailors de-enlisted. They were so scared, de-enlisted when they got back. Now, was their time up? How did they de-enlist? I don't know, but they did. So that's one area where the Russians are using an EMP. Now, for those that don't know what an EMP is, it's an electromagnetic pulse that goes out and destroys all electronic equipment. In other words, radios, computers. Now, it can shut the equipment down for a period of time, from what I'm understanding, or it can render it totally useless permanently. One form would be a jamming type form, which would render it inoperable for a certain period of time. I'm not really up on the complete scientific description or the scientific, and I don't think anybody is, because I think some of this stuff is real secret, how it works. Okay, but I'm seeing that they're using it, and supposedly right now they're using it in Syria on these bombing runs against ISIS or ISIL or Daesh or whatever the hell they call themselves. They're using that very same jamming system and electronic system in a bubble type effect kind of like a bubble over a certain area, a certain fly zone. And they've created their own no-fly zone. That's why the West is so up in arms about, oh, we need to create a fly zone. Forget it. The Russians already created a fly zone. They're not letting anybody fly in there, at least that they're not aware of. Okay, so they have excellent radar and excellent sensing. Okay, and they've created a sort of a bubble. Now, again, we don't know how all these electronics work, but suffice it to say the Russians are ahead of the game with aircraft and jamming, radar jamming techniques and radar spotting techniques and aircraft radar jamming, however you want to describe it. They're ahead of the game. And with the situation the way it is in Syria, and that's going to go on for another 3-4 months by all accounts, I don't see it going on that long without some kind of incident happening. I've said this before. There's already been several incidents happening in that theater over there. There's been close calls with drones. There's been drones getting shot down. You just don't hear about everything. There was even an encounter with a Swiss fighter plane. There was an encounter with Israeli fighter planes where they were warned to go away, to split, to leave the scene, and they did. They thought they were going to come in and cruise around unnoticed, and Russia, boom, spotted them like that. So Russia has air superiority overall over there by both technological means and by legal means, because they're the only ones that have been allowed to come in there from a foreign sovereign leader. So I think this thing is degrading, and I think that the world situation is definitely degrading. I can't even look at some of the news anymore. It's so horrific with the refugees and the Palestinians and the blah blah blah. I mean, it's like it was before, but it's worse. Now, some people might disagree with me and say, well, it looks like now that Russia's getting more together with the U.S. and that they're coming to some kind of agreements on no-fly things, and that even the latest news is that Putin is talking to Assad, who is the big thorn in the side of the West. He's talking to Assad about having elections and letting the people decide whether Assad's to remain in power. And you might say, oh, well, that'll solve everything with the U.S. because that's all they want is Assad out of there. No, that's not what they really want. I got news for you. The only reason that they want Assad out of there, just like the only reason that they wanted any person like Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein, the only reason that they want the leader out of there is to destabilize the country and let it be taken over by terrorists who they created. ISIL and the Free Syrian Army. Now Russia's even saying, well, we'll help the Free Syrian Army if you let us know who it is and share your intel. I mean, that is just a classic ploy, which America's already refused, because if they told Russia where all the Free Syrian Army was, that would mean there was a Free Syrian Army, which there isn't, and if there was, well, Russia would destroy it anyway because they would know that it was part of the terrorists over there. Now, this terrorist thing has gotten so far out of hand and has grown so much. No wonder Russia went in there. They went in just in time, because it's spreading all over the place. And they're morphing into other countries, and they're shaving their beards off and actually dressing like women. Okay? They're in Muslim drag. They're running like scared rabbits, and they're shaving off their beards, and they're dressing like women with the burqas and all that, so they can't be seen. So Russia is definitely causing a big problem for the West, because that's their proxy army, running away like women. Not that there's anything wrong with women, but all these big, bad, rough, hard guys out there with machine guns and beards and screaming. Half of those guys are CIA, okay? Now, all these inner workings that are going on over there, all this supposed goodwill with, oh, we're going to create, you know, we're going to agree to cooperate with Russia, and we're going to create a mutual safe zone where our airplanes can fly around, and we're going to do this, and that's all just smoke and mirrors, blowing smoke up your ass, or trying to blow it up Putin's ass. He knows better, because look what's going on behind the scenes. They're still dropping weapons. The West is still dropping 50 tons of weapons. I think they made 2 drops now to the so-called Syrian freedom fighters, which again are really just terrorists. So basically what this boils down to is that I think that this thing with Assad, this is another way for Putin to pull the covers of the West by saying he's going to come up and say, yeah, well, Assad just visited Putin in Russia, so he's going to come up and say, well, we had a talk, and Bashar is agreeing to have elections, and a democratic election, and let the people choose. Well, the people, they know the people right now are just in so much relief that Russia's in there, and it's because of Assad asked them to come in. I hardly doubt right now that the people are going to vote Assad out at this juncture. And if they did vote him out, Putin would make sure that there was a stable person, okay, that was pro-Russian and an ally of Russia. He would make sure that whoever got elected, if that happened, which I doubt it would, but if it did, he would make sure that that person was a strong leader like Putin is, and would be an ally to Putin. Now, how does this help the West? It doesn't. It throws a bigger wrench in the works. The West doesn't want democracy like they say they do in Syria. They want chaos. They want chaotic conditions so that elements can come in and ravage the country and dismantle the country and take over pipelines, and they like everything to be blurred. They like everything to be blurred. They don't want you to know who the good guys and the bad guys are, so that leaves room for them to infiltrate in there and do what they have to do. So, getting back to my message of this video, getting back to my message about EMP, electromagnetic pulse, that doesn't have to be nuclear either. Like some people think, well, that's a nuclear bomb that's exploded over the atmosphere, which renders everything, the shock waves from it. There's other ways to do EMP attacks without exploding a nuke, and it's clean. It's a clean thing. It doesn't kill a bunch of people. Now, if they did do an EMP on the whole country of America, the USA, it would be utter chaos. It would send us back to like 1870. We would literally be back in the Old West again. There wouldn't be anything that could be operated in the way of water. There would be no food on the shelves. There would be no trains running because they all run by computers. Everything that has a computer, everything that has anything that's run by electricity would be in the dark, so to speak. In other words, that means everything. I'm talking everything is run off of a grid, and these grids are all basically old computers, which could be hacked into anyway. And if they shut these things down with an EMP attack or a pulse attack, I'm telling you, everything's going to go down. Electricity, water, transportation, communication, everything. Just like the 1870s. Might even be worse than the 1870s. At least they had telegraph wires back then. And to prove that this can be done, it was done by the sun back in the 1870s, 1880s, the Carrington event, where an X-class flare, which is similar to an EMP, took out all the electrical operations of the telegraph services and even burnt the wires up. So this is not far-fetched. This is technology that they have. Now, another thing that makes me see that this is what's going to happen is what's America doing right now? Well, they're putting all their a lot of their defense systems and a lot of they're opening up Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, which is a huge, vast underground bunker. Okay. And some people don't even know how far that bunker goes, and some people even think that there's railroads underneath America that are crisscrossing underneath the different bunkers. And right now, the government, the United States government, is caching a lot of weapons and a lot of electronic control devices and putting a lot of food and storage and vehicles and everything that would support the elite, okay, or the powers to be, or whoever thinks they're going to go down in there. It's really sad, isn't it? But this is something that I don't know if I'll see in my lifetime, but I think that's eventually what's going to happen. Now, I think that I might see it because the way I'm looking at things here is like this shit's ramping up right now. And all it's going to take is for somebody to screw the pooch. To screw the pooch. And that's an old pilot's term, an old astronaut's term for fucking something up fatally. Okay? Making a fatal friggin' mistake. Okay? A mistake. Like what's going on in the no-fly zone or the fly zone or the combat zone or the hot zone, okay, over in Syria, in the Middle East. And don't think for 1 minute that these neocon brats, fraternity brats, and psycho concentration camp survivors think that. Don't think for a minute that they're gonna just like turn a blind eye to what Russia did with Syria and put a complete wrench in the plans that they had going there. These babies that still keep crying about Assad must go and, well, maybe we'll let, I really get a kick out of, well, maybe we'll let Assad stay for transition. Maybe we'll let? Maybe we'll let? Are these people full of themselves or what? Maybe we'll let a sovereign leader that was elected by his people stay there a while? Maybe we'll let? How about you people take a long walk off a short friggin' pier? Maybe we'll let. Who the hell are they to say that they will let anybody do this or do that? Now, another thing that makes me think that there's going to be a need, besides these visions that I get, okay, which are, I always go by that first, and gut feelings. But another thing that makes me think that there's going to be an electromagnetic pulse attack is the fact that the U.S. Navy pulled all their ships out of the Mediterranean. Right after they saw that display by Russia of all the Patriot, not Patriot, that's our missiles, the cruise missiles, I don't know what they call them, they have a name for them, but they're beyond ours, and they can scorch across the sky and blow a aircraft carrier out of the water in seconds. That's why America chose to leave the Mediterranean. And to make them look strong, then they got all Mr. Bad Guy with this, well, we're going to go into the South China Seas and disrupt China's little islands out there that they're building. That's coming up too. That's coming to a theater near you probably within the next few days or the next week, I would say. So you think things couldn't happen right now? Think again. I'm surprised. I am totally surprised that the neocons and the jerks over there haven't gone off the deep end and around the bend more than they already are and done something and screwed the pooch. I'm surprised they haven't screwed the pooch already. It's in the works. It's in the plans. These people are just seething right now because of what Russia did. He took the upper hand. He took the superior position. He took the moral high ground. He took the high ground. And what does Sun Tzu's Art of War say about battling? And well, anybody that has the high ground, whether it's in a psychological aspect or in a physical aspect, is going to win the war. That's just a given. And so when the neocons and when the brats and when the little fraternity thumb-sucking brats over there with their lollipops and fudgesicles in no pun intended, figure that one out, fudgesicle. When they pop off with the shit they're talking about with their mouths, they're all mouth right now. That's all they are, is mouth. And that's all that, half of the time that's all they ever were, is mouth. So but at some point the mouth has to stop and the actions have to begin. Okay. And they know that their time's running out for like creating any kind of decisive action. Okay, and I'm not even taken into consideration here that they have other reasons for wanting to start a war, for wanting to create havoc. Now, the whole thing right now is, are they going to push Russia, or are they going to screw the pooch, make a mistake, or are they going to push Russia or China to the brink of this war, or see how far they can push them? Because their game is chicken. Their game is chicken. Their game is like they're stupid. Okay. It's like getting two cars. It's like the old James Dean movie, right? Who's going to go off the cliff? Who's going to jump out of the car before the car goes over the cliff? Or let's point the cars at each other and drive right for them and see who jumps out first. So their whole thing is, well, if we point a certain thing, a certain idea, a certain action against Russia or China, just like the ships going into the South China Sea, let's see who plays chicken. Well, they're going to get their card punched hard. And they already have. But, see, Putin doesn't play chicken, and China doesn't play chicken because they take a martial arts point of view. Okay. Now, the West could very well take their ships in there to the South China Sea, and China might not seemingly do anything about it. They might be testing the waters to see how far America's going to go. Okay? And America feels the need right now to flex their muscles and be super macho and go in there and show them who's who. But in the martial arts, the Chinese martial arts and judo, which Putin is familiar with, got to realize here that there's all kinds of strategy going on. And so there's a circular motion instead of a frontal motion, or motion, I should say, a frontal motion. There's a circular motion in the martial arts that is different than just outright confronting somebody. It's using their energy against themselves by spinning them around in this circle. Okay. When they attack you, you create this circle of energy. Okay. And I've been practicing these arts for years, and you spin them around this circle right back in on themselves until they destroy themselves. You turn that opponent's energy against themselves. This is how China works. This is how Russia works. And these idiots are just like coming straight on in the old, you're putting your dukes up, okay? Little do they realize that they could be led around in a circle and end up hurting themselves. Their own energy used against themselves. And electronic warfare could be used here too. They might not attack those ships, China. They might just render them, oops, all of a sudden they lost all their power. So I'm seeing that the chaotic energy of the universe, which I talked about before, the yin and the yang, and I always know there's a reason why Great Spirit has me talking about this stuff, other than what I can see. Now I use it to talk about how we can deal with life and how on spiritual levels, but I also see how this energy is working and has worked on other levels as far as war and warfare. Because being a martial artist, although I'm very spiritual, I also see how martial, okay, martial meaning war, I see how that works, and I see strategies. So, Putin's plan really is he'll do everything he can. Russia will do everything they can to win the battle without fighting, because that's in Sun Tzu's Art of War. That's one of the first. That is the first precept of Sun Tzu's Art of War: win the battle without fighting. Win the battle without direct confrontation. And he's doing every means that he can to do this, to win a battle without confrontation, without annihilation, without nuclear warfare. But if they push him, don't think for a minute that he won't do just like he did with Syria, make a first move. He even said recently, when I grew up on the streets of Leningrad, at this recent club meeting in Sochi, he said, when I grew up on the streets of Leningrad, if we saw somebody that was going to come up and start a fight with us, we always threw the first punch. We always threw the first punch. So if he sees that America or NATO or the West is making a move, he sees them making moves. They're definitely making moves. They're doing war games, and they're opening bases, and they're doing all kinds of moves. They're doing all kinds of threatening moves right now. But if he sees them making a screw the pooch type move, or almost a fatal move, then what do you think he's going to do? He's going to throw that first punch. He's going to be the one to throw that first punch. That was my phone ringing in the background, and if they leave a message, you will be hearing a duck quack here pretty soon. So anyway, maybe that's just a good sign for me to end this video right now. Anyway, I always look at things as omens. But that's how it's going to play out, people. That's how it's going to play out. It's definitely going to play out that way. That's the way I see it. That's the only way it can play out. Think about it. If Putin wins the war without fighting, that'll mean that the neocons in America and the West has totally gone lily-livered and back down and shrinking violet, and that's not their macho idea. See, Sun Tzu's Art of War also talks about retreat. Okay, talks about retreat, that it's okay to retreat, to pull. There goes the duck. It's okay to retreat. You don't want to look at a retreat as necessarily as a defeat. You want to look at retreat as a regrouping or a renewing of your energy, or regrouping. Okay? But the West doesn't. That's not in their consciousness. Their consciousness is, anytime that they're backing off, it's not to regroup. It's like they feel like they've been defeated. Whereas a true martial artist, a retreat or a retreat is not a surrender. It's a regathering of energy for a final blow. Okay. And you can see that in the strategy that Putin has done so far, because he has kind of retreated, or he was playing a real low profile with the Crimean thing and everything, and he wasn't being aggressive with it. But, except for the Donald Cook, but all of a sudden, boom, he came out stronger than he was before, or seemingly was before. Also, feigning weakness to the enemy is another Sun Tzu tactic. And they saw Putin as weak until he, boom, came right out and kicked ass in the Syrian thing. They're not going to take this lying down, and they aren't, and they're still demonizing Putin, and they're still coming up with all kinds of stories about he bombed hospitals, and he's killed civilians, and all kinds of civilians have been... That's a big fucking lie, okay? And I'll tell you why, because the guy that put that out is some guy that... The Syrian Human Rights Commission, you know what that is? That's a guy in London that's a... anti-Assad Syrian pro-West guy controlled by the CIA who lives in a little flat in London, and he's the whole big organization of Syrian human rights, and the West, the CNN and Fox News, and these people, they hear that, yeah, some human rights thing, and like, yeah, some human rights said that no evidence, never any evidence, nothing, just this idiot's word, big fat guy with a beard sitting up there in the UK who calls himself the Syrian human rights thing. And they use people like that. They use people like that to spread their propaganda and lies. Okay? That's who they use, is idiots like this, or no credible evidence. So this is going on. This is going to continue to go on, and this is how they're playing it. They're playing every dirty trick and every dirty pool and every dirty game they can behind the scenes. This is called unconventional warfare. Okay, it's called unconventional warfare, and it's in the Spec Ops book. Destabilizing nations from within, spreading propaganda, using groups that really don't exist, all these kind of different things is straight out of the manual, which I have read, of unconventional warfare. Well, don't you think Putin knows all this? Sure he does. So at some point, what I'm saying here is that if there is an attack, and I'm sure that at some point it's going to they're either going to screw the pooch the West, or they're going to make a fatal move, because they're dummies. Just look at them. So anyway, I think an EMP could very well be used. I don't see a nuclear thing. I can see the West thinking that they could do a limited nuclear strike, and they've even said it, but I don't think that's Putin's mindset. I think Putin's mindset is either an EMP or, barring that, a financial... He could collapse America right now financially. Overnight. He could collapse it. They just don't want to, because it's not in their best interest, because there's still trade going on and everything else that people don't even see. You hear about all these sanctions, but there's still trade in the space station, all kinds of stuff going on with America. And he doesn't want to destroy America, but he will take it down if he has to. Anyway, that's my rant for today. Better see who was calling me. Might be somebody important like my girlfriend. Just kidding. Anyway, this is Thunder. Just a little food for thought there. Over and out.